You're listening to the G3 Experience Podcast. We bring content about faith and sports. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share, and follow us on all of our socials so you don't miss out. Let's jump right into today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome to the G3 Experience Podcast, where faith and sports collide. I'll be your host, Chris Avila, and I'm so excited to have our guest today. His name is Noah Arnold, and he is leading in a space that is growing like crazy. It's considered the action sports area, but specifically skateboarding. So I'm so pumped. Noah Arnold is in the house. What's up, my man?
What's up, dude?
So glad you're here. Bro, give them really quick some statistics, what's going on, and how Camp Arnold started Skatechurch. Give it to us.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. So my last name's Arnold. I've been known as Mr. Arnold. I've been teaching 12 years. So Camp Arnold just kind of grew and happened organically. So this year I stepped away from teaching, and Camp Arnold is the umbrella of many things I have a heart for, which includes outreach, which includes specifically the skate parks. So the research that I've done in the action sports world, that since the pandemic, 490 million people are involved in action sports. Wow. It's too big to ignore, right? Like it's in the Olympics. So I have a heart for that culture. I grew up skating. My first love was snowboarding in the action sport world. Nice. Did a handful of years with wakeboarding, but skateboarding has been a place where it's my outlet. And it's something I love doing, and I have a heart for those kids because I've seen firsthand that the skate parks can be a place where kids go to get away from broken homes.
Right.
They're dealing with suicidal issues,
right.
Drug abuse, alcohol abuse, depression, anxiety, different things. So when I started this skate church, the vision was to share my faith, impact the skate park culture. With the power of Jesus, and for each individual to see, hear, and respond to the gospel. So we do that at Frisco Skate Park. We meet every week, Thursday night, 6:45. We have a sit down. We do a lesson. We feed them. We give them water.
Amazing.
Walk alongside them and mentor them. So we've been doing this now for a year and a half, and I'm about 3 months into doing it full time. So it's been a journey.
Wow, man, that's crazy. So tell me a little bit about your journey. Because you're saying snowboarding, there's no snow around here in Texas.
Yeah.
But tell me about your journey, how God got you from Mr. Arnold to now leading this amazing ministry.
Yeah, so I'll start quickly about me. So I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in the state of Wisconsin, gave me my blue collar, hardworking edge. So I didn't have a church or a youth group growing up. So my parents put me in summer camp. And summer camp, I loved it. I loved everything about it. And as a student and also on staff, and summer camp changed my life. So it just became a part of me. Grew up skating, grew up snowboarding. I did play basketball, baseball, big basketball, baseball guy. Got into my first year out of high school, went to Colorado, did a bunch of snowboarding.
Wow.
Loved it. And when I got married, and I married a California girl, a Southern California girl. So when we moved to California, I got a job teaching in the South Bay, Manhattan Beach, California. And I was known as Mr. Arnold. I was teaching physical education. I got a degree in PE, K through 12, had a great job. And so Mr. Arnold was who I was. And so I have a heart to go above and beyond. So I thought, why don't I now be someone that can impact these kids? It really had nothing to do with skateboarding at the time.
Right.
Camp Arnold was just me. Like, it was Mr. Arnold, and then if you knew me, if you were in the community and you dropped your kids off, it was just me running camps to make a little extra money and to have this above and beyond approach.
So, okay, you got this huge heart. So when did God become real in your life? Because this is obviously talking about this impact that you have, this passion for God, but when did that become real? And you're like, man, I want to live for Jesus. This is the real thing.
Yeah. So going back to the summer camp thing.
So it was a church camp.
Yeah, it was a Christian sports camp.
Got you.
So again, I went as a kid, as a camper.
Nice.
Loved it. I loved I love the counselors. I love the traditions, the energy, that cutting off of distractions. But so when I got to college, I was making terrible choices in college. I was making some poor choices, alcohol, drugs, addiction issues, women. It was just a lot of dead ends. But what was happening is that same camp was interviewing for staff.
Wow.
So I recognized that and said, dude, I love camp. Maybe I can go work there during the summer. And I went and got interviewed by a guy who I knew. I remembered him and he remembered me, and I was honest with him, like, dude, I'm not making good choices right now. Like I'm doing a lot of things with alcohol, and I'm waking up hungover every day. My choices with women are poor. But he's like, dude, we just want you to get in the atmosphere. He's like, let me check some references and I'll get back to you. So I got on staff, but I was cleaning toilets. I was a maintenance guy. I didn't do the fun thing in camp, but the point was he got me in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I remember the first week is all staff, right? Before the students come, and we're doing our testimonies. And I was about 22, 23 at the time. And they look at me during this first week and they're like, where's your turning point? And I grew up a believer, right? I grew up a believer, and a lot of things happened growing up and developmental years, and a lot of things happened with my family. And like I said, I didn't have a church or a youth group growing up. I looked at him, I was like, I don't have a turning point. I wasn't happy being there at the time. I wanted to go home and party with my friends.
Did you feel at all like a temptation to like lie in that moment? Like, or like, that's amazing that you were just authentic and just said, man, I haven't turned yet.
No, I didn't feel like I didn't want to lie, but I didn't want to be there. I wanted to go back to what I was comfortable with. I was really involved in the party scene, you know, and drinking a lot and being involved with different ladies, but like I didn't have a turning point. But I'm a huge fan of and now that I'm older, you look back at it, of putting myself in atmospheres that are healthy. Like I was in this healthy atmosphere that was God honoring. I didn't really process it all at the time, but a few days later, there was a speaker that I don't remember who it was, or it was all staff, and we're prepping for the students to come. It was all staff, and I lay on this gymnastic floor, and the speaker, I don't remember what his topic was, but he kept challenging us to surrender to God. And again, I was hitting dead ends. I was empty. And at 23, I told God, I surrender. And that changed my life, transformed my life.
Wow, that's amazing. So that's where this passion to help people, to go above and beyond as a teacher begins to happen. So how do you get from beautiful Southern California to now growing Texas? And tell me, how did that happen? And then the jump from leaving teaching to now full-time Skatechurch.
Yeah, so the year is 2018, Camp Arnold starts, just above and beyond stuff. 2019, Teacher of the Year, Southern California, top of the world, surfing before work, great job, great community.
That's great.
I got 2 daughters. My wife and we're now been married 15 years. So at the time it was around 2021. So like 3-4 years ago. So we've been married 11, 12 years at the time. Get laid off in 2020 in California. Pandemic, chaos, shutdowns, riots. So like LA County at the time was a crazy place.
No joke,
and unfortunately, like everybody who had, if people are being honest, looked at some options to see what else is out there.
Right.
So we got job offers in Prosper, Texas. I had no idea where Dallas was. I had no idea where Prosper was. I knew Dallas was in the state of Texas. You couldn't tell me if it was north, south, east, west.
Right.
But we got 2 little ones, 2 little girls, and they play soccer. And at the time, everything was shut down. School was shut down. Soccer was shut down. So like, you just look for opportunities for what's best, big picture for your family.
Yeah.
And so when you compare the two, it's like Texas, California. I got nothing but love for the state of California.
Sure.
But the state of Texas just had the opportunities for my family. So we moved here in 2021.
Wow.
And so we just jumped back into school. I got a job in the special ed world. But the question is where does Camp Arnold go from here?
Right.
So I had a vision in 2020. I was sitting in my garage in California teaching virtual teaching to special ed students. And I love the special ed students, but the virtual world was a whole different thing. Yeah. Like it was a challenge for me, like for everybody. Special ed students trying to follow along. But again, the rug got pulled out from under me. Teacher of the year 2019, right. Like 2018, I start Camp Arnold, like the community, the involvement. I love those kids the same I loved my own children, the kids I was working with. But in 2020, I'm sitting in my garage, and you have like a 30-minute Zoom, right? And then you take like a 30-minute break, and you jump on another Zoom. And I'm sitting in my garage during the pandemic, and I get this vision to make Camp Arnold more. To make it more. So I have a little history with doing some skate outreach in the past before I had my own kids, but again, I never ever thought it would ever happen again. So I had the vision to do another skate ministry, skate outreach. And at the time we didn't know we were going to move here, but we got here. And then when I got here, no one knows me, like community, right. School involvement. These students don't know me, these parents don't know me. So that's what made Camp Arnold something where I can go above. I always had this hard to go above and beyond, but I didn't have that community like I did in California. Right. So I was like, I'm just going to go invest and follow this call to go to the skate park. And so I did. Like, wow. I went all by myself the first year and went to Frisco Skate Park and just started to skate and get connected with the kids.
Wow. That's amazing. So here you are teaching. You start going to the skate park, you start connecting with kids. Now there's this battle in your heart of like passion and what do I really want to do? Tell us about how did that happen, that final jump? Because I always tell people when you're about to step out into faith, you have to step over fear. The enemy always uses the spirit of fear and to cause us to get our attention on that spirit instead of the Holy Spirit, instead of God's Spirit. So tell me about that battle. And what was the final, like, man, we're going to jump. We're going to do this.
Yeah, so teaching, I continued to teach out here in Texas, and it was really uncomfortable. I never really knew why. I don't know if it was the pandemic. Obviously, different states have different approaches to doing things. Yeah. But I launched a Skatechurch in February of 21. Well, I launched it, like I did like a little startup thing to get some t-shirts and some stickers made. Right. In like right before the holidays of 21. And then in 22 we jumped in. And what I did is like, hey, I'm gonna start, once I was kind of involved, and skateboarding is organic, right? Right. You want kids to know who you are. You can't just jump in and expect them to respond. So I gave out stickers and t-shirts and said, hey, I'm gonna start this skate church, will you come? And enough of them said like, yeah, I'll come. And then I finally said like, cool, well, we're going to start next week. And I didn't know who was going to show up, but like 12 kids showed up. And the reason I say that is because I was doing this in addition with teaching. Right. Right. So and as the years go by, I've been teaching now in Texas 3 years. I was in the special ed world, didn't really find like that comfort of passion in the special ed world. When I got laid off in California, I was teaching elementary PE. And I loved it. I loved it. And I wasn't done. And I just wanted to make sure I wanted that life. I wanted to continue doing that. Right. So I get a job in the same district teaching elementary PE the following year. This is now the third year of teaching in Texas. I'm still doing Skatechurch every week. It's like this additional thing we're doing, but my career just is not feeling comfortable. I'm really frustrated. I come home, not happy, and I don't know why. I've loved teaching my whole life. Yeah. And what happened was, you talk about like that moment, and this was the start of the moment. So it was one night I couldn't sleep, and I was up all night. Like stuff at work was extremely difficult. Like I'm frustrated. I don't look forward to waking up and going, and I'm trying to understand why it's not working. So it's like 2 a.m. So it's 2 a.m. I can't sleep. It's like 2:15. I still can't sleep. I jump in the shower, I get out, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go upstairs. I have this little like man cave, like this, like, it's like a media room, but I've turned it into this really cool man cave. But it's quiet and it's soundproof. So it's like dead silent in there. So what I did is I was so desperate to have answers. I got on my knees. And this is like 2:45, 3 a.m. And I just like, all I said was like, God, I need your presence right now. And like I was still on my knees, like sobbing, like I'm like, why is this not working? Like, so, and I heard the voice, and the voice said, surrender. And what I realized, dude, is like, I had been holding on to my career and trying to get back a life that I wanted. Like, obviously the pandemic affected a lot of people, including myself, and that rug got pulled out from under me. And like, I wasn't done doing that.
Yeah.
Teacher of the year, like community involvement.
Yeah, you're comfortable.
Kids who know me, like I know them, like these relationships and like things were working. But what I realized now that I'm in Texas is like, I'm trying to almost get back a life that's no longer there.
Yeah.
So there was that surrender moment where I realized, and keep in mind, remember when my life changed at the summer camp, God challenged me to surrender.
Yeah. Same
and so it was that moment I realized that my ego got in the way. My self-absorption got in the way, and me just being in full control of my life. That was the moment I like let go. And I was about halfway through the school year. So I still had to finish out the school year, but like, that's when it started me feeling like, whatever you want, God.
What's so powerful about that is that I've seen like people that are on the journey with God, the most frustrated ones are the ones who don't surrender all. Dude. It's like they hold on, they're holding on.
Yeah, man.
It was like, man, when God saved my life, it was a shift that happened in my spirit. So I was still going to clubs, still working at this radio station, and I couldn't enjoy myself anymore. And everybody's like, what's wrong with you? And it was like, I knew God wanted me out of there, but it's the guys who don't surrender everything are the ones that get frustrated, and they're like, and then they blame God, and they're like, God, all right. But it's like, God's like, I just need you to surrender everything.
Yeah. Your
identity, who you are, what you're doing. You need to surrender it all. So that's so powerful, man, that you got alone in God's presence and he speaks. Our pastor always says this. He says, it's easy to hear God when you get in his presence, and so that's so encouraging. Was there any, did you feel like kickback when you started, when you jumped, and you're like, I'm doing this full time? What were some of the keys? Because I believe there's people probably watching that are in the same shoes as you. They're like, man, I hate this job. I feel God pulling me to do something that's going to impact his kingdom. But I'm afraid to jump. What were some of the things that helped you? And what were some of the things that, did you feel pushback or like nobody's supporting you? Or what was some of the pushback?
So just to connect the dots a little bit. So when I had that surrender moment, the skate church was thriving, like it's growing. So I'm seeing like on average 15, 20 kids a week, sometimes 30, 35 kids a week. Wow. We filed to be a 501c3 that year. So like I never really asked for a lot of funds unless we did like we needed some food or maybe a little bit of travel. But like we're getting like these big one-time donations. This stuff's all like just randomly, like from people we don't even know. So again, I still wrestled with thinking when you live in a culture where you want to have comfort of a paycheck. Right. So I still looked for different opportunities in teaching. Like I interviewed like highly qualified, like crushed the interview, didn't happen. And these doors were closing. And I realized when I talked to my wife, I was like, babe, I think I'm ready to go full time. Yeah. And so obviously, and having a supportive wife, and this, is like number one, right? Like, and I know Unity, families and people that if they're not on the same page, or if they're not on the same page yet, they continue to go, and it's affecting their family. So again, my wife, we've been married 15 years. I still don't know why she chose me, because I'm just a Midwest dork, but I never forgot, to have a blonde California
God's
girl,
grace, man. God's
to have
grace.
A blonde California girl pick you, but I love her, but she was very supportive, and she was the one that really kind of brought it up first, like, you should do this full time.
Wow.
And so what I did that, and another thing I was going to say, like a lot, what I realized after that surrender moment of what God was doing, because you get frustrated, you want certain people and you want it to look a certain way. And I would love like 3, 4, 5 of like-minded guys like me to go out to the skate park. It was really just me following the call to go out and do it. It's hard to find, I'm an old guy. So like to find guys my age, like people get kind of stuck in their ways, especially like I talked to a few people about guys in my age that want to do this and they have a certain opinions. And I was like, dude, like it's not in line with what the vision is. So my point is like God brought people into my life, like a CPA, like huge, not knowing at the time, but that stuff has to get filed. Board members, like this stuff has to be done. That's just lays the foundation. And when you build a skyscraper, you have to dig down first. And that's like the unsexiness of it. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody wants to look cool. But what I realized is God was bringing in these people that I thought they were supposed to be people that looked like me. But it's people on the back end of things that were really helping me get the foundation laid. And I still feel like I'm digging down to build this skyscraper. And so when all that stuff was in place, and then you get all the tax ID, the business stuff, like all that stuff in place, and you got your wife's support, you got board members that approve everything, and then you seek a lot of counsel. And I fasted for 3 days, and I finally talked to my principal at the end of the year. I was like, I'm being called full time in the mission field. I was like, I will not be returning next year.
Wow. What did they say? How did they respond?
She was super supportive and called it very honorable and totally understood, because she was aware of what I was doing. And again, it just became something that I never thought the Skate Church would become a full-time thing. Again, I have a heart to go above and beyond. I have a heart to share with people good news, right? And if we're really believers like we claim to be, and in the skateboarding world, we say, we use the term posers or phonies, like don't be a poser, don't be a phony.
Right.
If you come out and dress like a skater or have a skateboard and don't skate, you're being a poser, you're phony. So it's like in this faith, it's like, bro, I don't want to be fake. I don't want to be phony. And when I got that vision in 2020, obviously we all remember 2020, but it was a ton of all talk, no action. And I was sick of it. I was sick of this all talk, no action world. So when I said it finally became this, God closed all those teaching doors. And again, I don't know, it just all happened where the only road for me to go down with all the green lights on it was this direction. So when I told my principal, she totally understood. She wrote me a letter of reference, say, come back whenever. And then since then, I've just been all in 24/7 since then.
Where do you see Skatechurch going in the next 3 to 5 years? Where do you see God doing in Camp Arnold?
Yeah, so the next 3 to 5 years is just obedience, just being obedient to what God wants. There's plenty of conversations that are happening of how we can impact other skate parks. Our mission is to disciple these kids and to be generous givers and to walk alongside them and to share the gospel. And we want to do that at as many places as possible. Again, we meet at Frisco Skate Park consistently every week, rain or shine. The only time we didn't meet is when we had the tornado warning. So, but my point is like the consistency is huge, and it's really paid off. And we have conversations of doing other skate churches, other type of things at other skate parks. But again, skateboarding is organic. Like it's not a rushed thing, so you don't want to just rush into it. So the next 3 to 5 years, it's just being obedient to what God wants, and we'll walk through those doors when it's supposed to happen.
This week, we were just talking before we jumped on here. Kids literally got saved this week.
Yeah.
Tell me a story or two of some of those kids.
So just in the past 3 weeks, I think we've had 5 kids come to Jesus the past 3 weeks. And it's, again, when we're out there, we're done with the fakes. We're done with the phonies. The kids are done with it. And you and I have talked like, these kids aren't going to church. These kids are, but they're searching. They're lost. They're hungry and they want something, you know, and they're open to it. So the harvest is ripe, the workers are few, right? So like we're those workers. So when we go out there, we don't mess around, and the response has been respectful. So to tell a couple stories, so one kid comes up to me He's a young kid, high school kid. He says, I'm addicted to porn. Can you pray for me? And I was, of course, man. Like been through it. Like we've all been through our stuff, and this is the world we live in. This stuff's everywhere.
Right.
Pray with him. I'm like, dude, do you have a turning point? Because I remember back to me, like my story. Like they asked me if I have a turning point, and he's like, no, I don't have a turning point. I was like, dude, today is the day you can have your turning point, because you're going to continue to be tempted.
Let's go.
And then when you're tempted, Satan's a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. So like, he's going to remind you that you don't have that security in knowing that your sins have been forgiven and you're covered by the blood of Jesus, and you have that purpose and that peace. So at the skate park, we pray and he's accepted Jesus into his life. Another story, I was at the skate park, and it wasn't even like a skate church night. I'll go throughout the week and just stay involved in the community and stay in the mix. And a kid pulls me aside. I've known him for a while, but again, that's the relationship side. It's that organic stuff. So he pulls me aside and he's telling me he's been suicidal the past year. Tough upbringing, like fills me in on how he was raised, but this is the reality of kids. Like not everybody has this perfect upbringing, and it's not a shocker to know that the youth today are going through all sorts of craziness. So I asked him again the same thing. I'm like, do you have a turning point? And he's, I believe in Jesus. I've asked him multiple times. I'm like, cool, dude, but like, can you specifically tell me?
Right.
Because I'm telling you, because when you get tempted to kill yourself again, Satan's going to remind you you don't have this turning point, like you aren't saved, that Jesus doesn't love you. I'm like, do you want to make that choice today? And then sure enough, like we pray, he accepts Jesus to his life. You know what's crazy? And I didn't know this at the time. It was World Suicide Prevention Day.
Whoa.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was of course, like through social media, like later I found out that it was. But that kid accepted Jesus that day on World Suicide Prevention Day.
Yeah.
And multiple other stories, man, but it's been awesome, man. And just to be a PE teacher and to be available, to be used by God, has been awesome.
I love that term, turning point. Jesus says, you've got to be born again.
Yeah.
And in the physical, we celebrate our birthdays, right? We celebrate, we give gifts and all that thing. I love to celebrate my spiritual birthday. That was my turning point.
Man.
It was June 22nd, 1997. It's a moment that I'm reminded constantly every year. And I think a lot of this generation, that's important to identify the moment your life has changed. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
But it's the moment that God stepped in and rescued you and now can empower you to live different and live for God and be used by God. God brought us together, connected us, and now we're like helping each other out. Like what made you want to connect with me out of all the amazing people in the world? I'm like, I seriously feel honored, but like what drew you to like connect?
So your daughter played soccer with my daughter.
Yeah.
That's how we first connected.
That California connection.
Yeah, and I loved your fade too. So I was like, dude, this guy's got a fade, man. I got to meet his barber. So shout out to your barber.
Yes, sir.
But when I first met you, we were just doing surface level talk, and at the time you were working for FCA, and I was like, dude, and at the time I was still teaching, but I started my nonprofit, and I think I filled you in a little bit on what it was, and again, at the time I didn't think it'd be like a full-time thing. We both had this like-minded heart for the Lord and a heart to go out and share the good news. So, fast forward, when I knew I was going to do this full-time and I made that decision, like I'm a pretty common sense guy. So like I reached out, and in our relationship, I think our daughters had gone to different clubs and things had changed on the soccer thing. But I was like, dude, Chris has been doing this. And you had filled me in on your past with, being out in Northern California and your chaplain history, and you had said that, and you had filled me in on G3.
Right.
It was right at the beginning time, like when it first started, but that conversation got brought up because 501c3 conversations got brought up, and so I was like, dude, I'm gonna reach out to Chris because this guy's been doing this, like, and so like with your advice and your consult, like it's been incredible because I needed it. Like I needed someone to not judge me and like and like make me feel like I don't know what I'm doing, because I didn't know what I was doing. And I just had a heart to go do this. So, but there's a lot of details to it when it comes to the fundraising, when it comes to connecting, to present to people your vision, how that looks. And you were just open and genuine. And again, it was that I really appreciated that, because I needed someone to really kind of hold my hand and not really judge me, because as if I should know this already.
Right.
And you were a no-brainer, man.
Right. Man, I appreciate that. It's been fun, just getting your text messages and, hey, you got 30 seconds, man. I just need to ask you some questions. I love that. My passion is to, again, I just love meeting people where they're at. And Skatechurch is meeting this generation exactly where they're at and bringing Christ, being an extension of the church, to bring the presence of God onto these places. Really quick, as we close, share, there's people watching. How can they come alongside you? Where can they find you? How can they help you?
Yeah, so first, all social media platforms at Camp Arnold Skate Church.
Perfect.
Website is camparnold.com/skatechurch. Again, we meet in Frisco, Texas, the local Frisco skate park, every Thursday night at 6:45. So if you're local, come hang out with us, come skate with us. And you don't have to skate to be there. A lot of people get hesitant to come, but they want to be involved. Just come out and see. And then you'll know how you can be involved and be supportive of what we do. And all information to come alongside us and partner with us is on the website. So check that out. And my personal Instagram is Noah Arnold, at Noah Arnold, because all the kids when I taught would call me Narnold. But they did it because they knew I was into action sports, so they added a G. So my first name is N, my last name's Arnold, so we just put Narnold. So Noah Arnold is my Instagram.
There you go. So if I show up, I got knee pads, elbow pads, full helmet. Like, you guys can accept me, man?
Oh, dude, bro, it's, again, we don't care at all, man. Like, and what's beautiful about the skate culture is like, we just want to see people succeed. Like we really do. And like, when it becomes like an issue of like people worrying about what people think, and like, that's when it becomes so obvious. Like, dude, if you're gonna fall, just get up. Like, just and we're gonna cheer you on. And people need to understand, like, kids at skate parks and people in the skate culture, like, we're cheering each other on. We're all individual. We kind of have our own individual style, but it's family at the same time. So we'll cheer you on. If you show up in pads and helmets and stuff, and like, and you're having a blast, dude, we will cheer you on.
That's awesome. Does your wife ever be like, hey man, you get hurt, you're gonna be in trouble when you get home?
No.
I see some of your videos. You're doing some.
No, I mean, again, and another point I want to make is like, I'm over 40 years old, so like, I've never claimed to be the strongest skater, but again, I serve a God who's bigger than that. So, but yeah, I'm doing things a 40-year-old probably shouldn't do. But when it comes to skating, but like, I love it, and I have a heart for it, and I have a blast. And again, that communicates with these kids
100%,
because in the end they love skating too. And so like, when I'm there and doing that, and I'm not doing crazy tricks and jumping off of crazy stair sets and doing all this stuff, of course I would love to look cool that way, but like, I'm over 40, so I'm not gonna, I got a family to provide for, you know what I'm saying? So my wife, she's always been so supportive, and again, our first date, when we first dated, we went on a snowboard trip, and she snowboards, and I was like, dude, I'm sold, man. I'm sold. So again, she enjoys it. She supports what I do, and again, it's a lifestyle for me for my girls to come see it when they can. Obviously, soccer gets busy, but it's a lifestyle, and I want my family. It's not different when I'm at home compared to when I'm at the skate park.
Right. Now, your authenticity is what, this generation can really sniff out, whether you're real, whether you're fake, and that's what they're looking for.
Yeah,
so, man, I'm so pumped for you, man. I'm excited. I just want to thank everybody for watching, for listening to the G3 Experience podcast, where we are going to hopefully have weekly to monthly content on sports and faith. Please share this, follow, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. We need to get the hope of God to this world. So thanks again. God bless.